He's been picked out. Sops down to his ankle. Picks out Stansfield. That's the hat-trick. And that's what dreams are made of.
Hello everybody and welcome to Park Life, the official Exeter City podcast. The games keep coming for the Grecians, with Saturday, Tuesday becoming a repeating schedule as we head towards the quarter-way mark in this year's League One season. Despite consecutive defeats, City will be looking to bounce back against Barnsley on Saturday, so let's get straight into it. Coming up in today's show, I'm joined by Mark Dennis, who writes the View from the Bank blog to review the games against Northampton and Charlton and look forward to City's upcoming game against Barnsley. I'm also joined by City striker James Scott, who scored his third goal of the season against Charlton on Tuesday. Andy Simcox from the Barnsley YouTube channel Red All Over also makes an appearance to preview our game on Saturday. Finally, we get the Exeter City women's lowdown from Connie Pengelly, who returned to the club this summer. First up, I'm joined by Mark Dennis, who writes the View from the Bank blog. Mark set up the blog back in July and has written regularly on the Grecians ever since. Mark, welcome to Park Life. Thanks for joining us. City are going through a little bit of a rough patch at the moment after a really strong start to the season. Despite the miraculous victory over Premier League side Luton Town, defeats to Northampton and Charlton have since followed. What do you make of City's recent form?
I think, as you say, Tom, it's been a bit of a struggle. I think the injury situation is starting to catch up with us a little bit. I think we were able to get through it initially, and now we're with the Saturday, Tuesday regular games, I think it's really taken its toll on the squad. Northampton on Saturday, every time we play Northampton, I see the fixture and I'm like, oh no, here we go again, it's Northampton. I just had a bad feeling about that one, but we never really got going in that game. I think it was a bit of a come down after the Luton game. I think everything that went along with that probably played its part. Yeah, never really got going. Northampton, big physical team, but also I just don't think in these last couple of games we're playing quite as much football as we were. I think it's missing Trevitt in the middle, to be honest. I think he's been such a good signing for us, such a good player. I think him and Tom Carroll had such a little good understanding there, and I think whilst we're still playing okay in patches, I think it's just we're missing that fluidity and creativity that Trevitt brings us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point you make about Trevitt and I suppose, you know, the rest of that midfield pairing as well. It seems a long time ago since we started the season off with a bang, 3-0 away against Wycombe with Devon Rankin on the right-hand side and obviously Trevitt in the middle with Tom Carroll. We started the season really well, you know, top of the league. I'm not sure how long we were realistically going to sustain that, but we had such a good start, and I suppose our league position is testament to what we did back then, even though, you know, at the moment we may be suffering a little bit of a rough patch.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you'd asked us at the start, or asked most City fans at the start of the season, if after, is it 11 games we've played now, if after 11 games we were going to be sat in 10th position, I think we would have been taking that every day of the week, as you say. But the great start did, I think, raise everyone's expectations a little bit. Maybe we all got a little bit carried away but yeah, I think these last couple of results is purely down to the depth of players that we're missing. And I'd like to think if we can get them all back, when that might be, I have no idea. But when we can get that main 11 back playing on the pitch, I think we should be able to hold our own this season.
Yeah, you've mentioned those injuries already, and I know you mentioned in your recent blog post about those injuries as well. We've had a couple of them return in recent days and weeks. You know, Harry Kite, Jack Aitchison, but the injury list is starting to grow even longer still. Devon Rankin, Ryan Trevitt, Admiral Musgrave, Imi Niskanen, Czech Diabate, they're all out injured. Jack Fitzwater now looks like a doubt for Saturday. I suppose it was always going to be difficult to get results from those games with so many key players out injured.
I think so, and I think at the minute it just seems to be one of those situations where we get a player back and then another one gets injured. And it's like Gary Caldwell must be absolutely tearing his hair out at the minute because he sort of can't pick the same team from week to week at the moment, and he can't get a consistency in the team. And then we have decisions like last night where Will Aimson potentially is going to be suspended, hopefully not. But having seen replays of that, I mean, he clearly won the ball.
Well, yeah, we'll see whether that does get overturned. I believe the club are looking at launching an appeal. We're obviously recording this on a Wednesday, so by the time it goes out on the Friday, supporters might know that decision. But as things stand, we don't know. But let's talk a little bit more about that game against Charlton on Tuesday night. City got off to a really good start at the Valley. James Scott grabbed the first of the game within 25 minutes. He started the season really well. I've just interviewed him, and he feels like he's made such improvements from last season. It's good to see him getting in the goals.
Brilliant, yeah. I think he's done really well this season. Again, he was another one, unfortunately, wasn't he, that was out for a few weeks with injury. But when he has played, I think he's done really well this season. He's holding the ball up well up front. He's pressing and chasing down, taking his chances when he gets them. So I think it's been a huge improvement from him from last season. And yeah, long may it continue, really. And let's hope we can get some help for him up there. Like as you say, Jack's back now. Hopefully he can start to get more minutes, and hopefully Admiral Musgrave will be with us soon. I'm not sure what the situation is there at the moment, but hopefully he'll be with us soon.
Yeah, we can only hope. We can only hope. But despite the defeats against Charlton and Northampton in the last two games, and Oxford as well, away from home, the Grecians still find themselves in a very respectable league position, which we mentioned earlier, 10th after 11 games. We're heading to the quarterway mark of the season now, and normally I think you'd be able to gauge a bit of a judgment as to where the sides might finish at this point in the season. But do you think that that's true of this year's League One? It feels very open to me.
It's funny you said that. I was thinking the same last night, and I thought we're getting to the quarter point of the season, should have a rough idea where we finish, and I have no idea where we're going to finish. I think we could finish anywhere from potentially edge of the playoffs if we can get that form back to anywhere down to
don't be too negative.
Yeah, I'm in pre-season, I was very, very unsure where we were going to finish, but I think we've got enough quality in the squad to be safe this season, I'd like to think. And I think let's just see, this is an old cliche in football, but let's see where we are at Christmas and take it from there. But yeah, I think mid-table, obviously I think we're all going to be happy if we get mid-table. So just take it one game at a time, isn't it? And see how we get on, really.
We certainly will. And the next game that we've got is Saturday against Barnsley at home. And we all know that St James Park can be a fortress, just as we saw when we beat Barnsley at home last season, beat them away as well. Are you feeling optimistic ahead of a game against a side that we have done quite well against in the recent past?
I think that will stand us in good stead. I think that should give the team some confidence, and obviously Gary and the coaching staff some confidence that they were able to get a game plan together last season to null Barnsley. They are going through a good spell, though, at the moment, aren't they? I had a look this morning. They're actually top of the away league table as well. They've won 4 out of 5 away games, so that cheered me up this morning. But yeah, I think if City are on their game, when it's a home game, we can beat anybody. I know the last 2 results have been disappointing with the Orient and Northampton results, which is probably putting a little bit more pressure on these games at the moment that we didn't really need. But I'm fully confident that, if we can get that team out there, big bank, get behind them, I'm sure we can do something.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope so. But finally, before you leave, just tell our listeners where they can find your blog and your plans for it for the rest of the season, because I've really enjoyed reading it. Yeah,
thanks, Tom. So, it's just something I've started at this season. Always enjoyed football writing. Love Exeter City, so I thought I'd give it a bash. So I'm on Twitter, and the page is A View from the Bank. I try and update the blog every couple of weeks. Sometimes it's more frequent if I've got the time. And as for plans, I'm just seeing how it's going, mate, at the moment. I'm really enjoying doing the pieces, really enjoying the interaction that I get back. And appreciate all the positive feedback, and also, really appreciate you having me onto this as well.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's got to be said. Thank you so much for joining me, Mark.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks very much.
Next, I'm joined by City striker James Scott, who scored in Tuesday night's game against Charlton Athletic. James, welcome to Park Life. Thanks for joining us. I wish I could be talking to you after a better result. You must be disappointed to come away from Charlton with nothing, especially after taking the lead away from home.
Yeah, of course. I think all the boys were disappointed, especially me, because to start the game so well and get that first goal was a bit annoying, yeah.
Yeah, and I mentioned that you took the lead. You were, of course, the man who slotted at home to put us 1-0 up. It was a really well taken goal from you. You must have been delighted with it at the time.
Yeah, of course. I had a little setback with the injury because I started the season so good with some goals, and then to come back from injury, I've just been working hard, and obviously it's paid off, which is good.
Yeah, it certainly has. That strike was your third of the season so far. It's been a really strong start for you personally, I'd say, and definitely an improvement from last season.
Yeah, of course. I think I probably could have had a lot more goals this season with the chances that us, Exeter and me have created, but I think I've just got to think positive because I've already scored more goals than I did last year. But yeah, I think I've started the season quite good and hopefully more goals to come.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's fair to say that last season was a pretty tricky one for you. It was always going to be difficult to compete with Jay Stansfield and Sam Nombe, who were sensational last year. I can imagine you were a little disappointed with your goal tally as well. But just talk to me a little bit about the work you've put in over the past few months to get yourself in the position you are now, where you feel you can contribute with goals and more.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, when the gaffer brought me in, I wasn't actually supposed to play as early as I did because I wasn't in the shape to play. And I don't think anyone knows that, just because we didn't really have that many bodies last season. But I just worked extremely hard over the summer. I had a PT and a nutritionist, and I think you can already tell, like, I've lost quite a lot of weight from last year. But no, I've just been sticking to a really good diet, and obviously playing more games week in, week out obviously has a major advantage to it as well.
Yeah, was the plan then from Gary and I suppose yourself to be brought in during January, have the whole first half of the year, I suppose, as a sort of rehabilitation, get you physically and mentally right, and then come in essentially as a replacement for Noms and Jay, who left?
Yeah, I think that was the plan. Obviously, Stano and Noms were on fire last year, and I'm just looking to do that this season, obviously, because they're not here, and I think I'm one of the top goal scorers just now, so if I can keep that going, then it'll be a good season for me.
And you've got competition this season as well. Admiral Musgrave has been brought in during the summer. Sonny Cox, of course, is a known goal threat, has scored plenty on loan while at Bath City. You've got that competition. Do you feel like you relish that opportunity to compete with other strikers in the team?
Yeah, I think if we didn't have that competition, I probably wouldn't be doing as good. You know, like I go into training every day thinking like I need to be on point and on fire, basically, just to get in that starting 11, because we brought in ads from Luton, obviously big player, very good player, and you just had no luck coming in. And then you get Sonny Cox that's been here from, not sure, probably from when he was young, and obviously seen him in training. He's very good to watch for how old he is. So I just think he needs a bit of luck in that first goal, and he'll obviously get going.
For sure. Last night, Tuesday night, you were playing as a sort of sole striker up top, surrounded by Vinny on the left, Demi on the right in a front three. Do you feel like you sort of embrace that sole striker role, or are you happy to play alongside a dual striker like we played last season?
I'm happy to play either or. Over my career, I think I played everywhere in the front four. So I'm kind of just learning every time I play. But the gaffer likes me to drop a lot deeper than I'm used to. But I kind of like it because I get involved in the game more. And I think the gaffer is really smart. And I think if I just listen to him, then I'll obviously succeed more.
For sure. Up next then, City face Barnsley at St James Park on Saturday. A chance to bounce back after a difficult run of form, it's got to be said. I know that both Sweens and Ville Sinisalo have said the team is working really hard to put things right. Do the squad feel like they've got a point to prove on Saturday? Yeah,
of course. Obviously, you can see we started the season so strong, and I think obviously having the injuries that we've had, it's been quite annoying because we've basically been playing with a different team every week. So I don't think we've been lucky on that side, but I think we've got a massive point to prove because the team we have and like how good we are, we should be right at the top of the league, you know. So I think Saturday will be a massive wake-up calls for all the boys in training this week, and hopefully can prove the fans right.
For sure. And, you know, Barnsley are a side that we had a lot of joy against last season, beating them home and away. An aggregate score of 5-1. There's only two teams we got 6 points from last season. MK Dons were 1 and Barnsley were the other. Do you feel confident that you can get the better of them once again?
Yeah, of course. I think on that night, I thought we were all on it. I thought even the subs coming on were on it. And I feel like because we beat them before, I don't see why we can't go do it again, you know. And I feel like the fans will be behind us on Saturday, and I don't see why not.
Yeah, they certainly will be, and they were against Charlton as well. How special did it feel? I know that you came over to clap the fans at the end of it, but
yeah.
I think Craig even mentioned that it almost felt like a crowd that was responding to a team that had just won the game.
Yeah,
it must have been special to get that sort of applause at the end.
Yeah, of course. When the whistle blew, I was expecting to see no fans in the stand, but I don't think anyone left. You know, that just sums up what this club means to the fans. You know, so for us to not be getting the results that they deserve is obviously quite annoying to them. So I feel like if we can get going and get back on getting 3 points at the weekend, then that'll top it off for them.
For sure. And the fans will be right behind you on Saturday as well. Thanks so much for joining me, James.
No problem, Tom. Thank you very much for that.
It's time to get the lowdown on City's next visitors to the park, Barnsley. To do that, I'm joined by Andy Simcox from the Barnsley fan YouTube channel, Red All Over. Andy, welcome to Park Life. Thanks for joining us. I think people expected quite a lot from Barnsley this season, but maybe not as much as what we've seen so far. Many fans thought that the departure of Michael Duff would cause a real rift in the plans for this season, but the club seems to have dealt with it really, really well. You sit fourth in League One with 19 points, and I expect, I'll double check, you must be delighted with the way you've started the season.
Mixed to be honest.
Really?
I know you'd want me to. I know you'd expect me to say wonderful. There's a few things really. We were a bit concerned in the summer because, as you've said, Michael Duff left. Neil Collins has come in, so it's going to take him time, and he came in pretty late on. Really, we lost. We had a goalkeeper on loan, Harry Eisted, who we expected to stay and hasn't. We lost the back three. I mean, it's we lost Mads Anderson, Bobby Thomas, who wasn't ours. We had him on loan, and he's gone to Coventry, and Liam Kitchen, who's also gone to Coventry. Funnily enough, to lose one captain during the summer, which was Mads Anderson, is as a shame, and it's something we always do. To lose two captains because Liam Kitchen took over for him is getting a bit careless, I think. So. Not only did we lose the goalkeeper, we lost the whole of our back three, so we had to start from scratch. But I have to say, gradually, as Neil Collins had come in late, it severely disrupted our pre-season. So we expected to start slowly, so we did start slowly. We only beat Port Vale 7-0. Might have been everything we touched went in.
We'll talk a little bit more about your start to the season in a little bit, but I wanted to focus on what you said a little bit earlier about losing the back three and the goalkeeper. I think any club would struggle with that. If anything, I think Barnsley have coped with it quite well. But how did the club go about recruiting such an important part of the team, which had seemingly just disappeared over the summer?
Well, it's been a mixture really. We started off by getting Killip from Hartlepool, who'd sadly been relegated from the Football League. But then we got Liam Roberts on loan for the season from Middlesbrough to go between the sticks. And truthfully, he's been absolutely outstanding. Why he's not been in somebody's first team for ages, I've absolutely no idea, because he's been absolutely tremendous for us. Across the back, we've had a variety of players that we've signed with. People thought, what are we doing? What are we doing? We signed Jack Shepherd from a local colliery club, from Pontefract Collieries, and a young man. You think, flipping heck, why have we done that? And he's only young. I think he's about 21. I think he's a class defender, and he's played a few times. He's not played so much. He came on as a substitute last night against Cambridge, but when he's played a few times. He's been a left-sided centre-half. He's been really, really good. His place was taken by McCart, who we've signed from Rotherham. And people saying, a Rotherham reserve, what are we doing? Yet another one at the back. McCart's been really, really good. When Casper Lapata got injured, brought in Marlin, and the last couple of games he's played, he's been superb. I can only describe majestic at the centre of the back. Really, really good. He scored last night, a bit of an unusual goal from a corner. Their defender headed it out and it hit him at the back of the head and went in. And it's his first ever goal in football, in professional football. So well done to him.
Indeed.
So we gradually, having, young players and, players of a lack of experience, if you want to call it that, in terms of professional football at League One level, they're gradually starting to come together. We were always quite happy with what we got, in the forward line and in midfield. But the defence was the thing right at the start of the season that we were significantly worried about. And
I suppose the man who's brought all of that together is the man you mentioned earlier, Neil Collins, the new manager at Oakwell. And I think at the time of his appointment, there was a bit of a mixed reception from supporters. Some really liked the idea that he was being brought in. I think others were a little bit more sceptical. But from what I can see, he's doing a great job. So I think some of those sceptical fans may have been proven wrong.
It's still, to be honest, Tom, it's still a mixture. I think he's doing all right, but there's still, after Blackpool, there's still some fans saying we need to get a shot of him. It's just beyond me. He was a centre back himself, so he is starting, in my opinion, he's starting to get that right. What we've not been doing so much lately is he was brought in my understanding, to continue the sort of work that Michael Duff did, which is to press high and press quick as a group, not one individual. And we haven't done that until last night. We've rarely done that. We've sort of stayed off a little bit and tried to catch teams on the break. And that's not served as well. It's certainly not served as well at home. And that's the bit I was telling you about a mixed start to the season. 6 league games at home, we've won 2 and lost 4. But the away form has been exceptional. We've not lost away from home, and we've conceded 3 goals away from home. Only Arsenal have done better than that.
Well, exactly. And I was going to come on to this next. Perhaps in many ways, I've been a little bit too kind on Barnsley. Consecutive losses at home in recent weeks. Now I know that Saturday's match is away from home, but does that not show a bit of weakness from your squad?
I think it might well do. I think we were very last weekend against Blackpool. We lost 1-0 to a penalty, and it was a pretty even game. I thought we played reasonably well, and we missed some soft chances, some really, really silly chances. We had a few penalty shots of our own. I'm not going about the referees, but oh dear me, a good referee last night. I usually bang on about the referees because oh dear, things we've seen. And we missed some blazing sitters. It was disappointing, but some of the previous matches against such as Peterborough and what have you, and Oxford, Portsmouth particularly in the first half against Portsmouth at Oakwell, they absolutely took us apart. We didn't know what to do. We got better in the second half and pulled it from 3-0 at half time to 3-2, and could have, as daft as it sounded, could have drawn or even won, because we played pretty well in the second half and just wasn't to be. But we were absolutely outplayed in the first half, so that doesn't sit particularly well, and that's why I say it's mixed. Although we're fourth, and on paper we're doing to Gabe Sutton, we're doing all right on paper.
Well, you look on. I was going to say you look on paper, and Tuesday night's
game,
you
start
away against Cambridge, a 4-0 victory, 4 goals, 4 different players scoring those goals, a clean sheet, all coming away from home on a Tuesday night. I mean, come on, surely that is the sign of a side that is really ready to compete in this league.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. We were outstanding in the first half, Tom. We pressed well, we pressed high, we passed it well. It was a very, very high press, really good into passing. We got it forward and we really dominated the first half. But I have to say, Cambridge had a couple of good chances. Our goalkeeper, Roberts, the one bit in a sort of goal-mouth melee where he pulled off, people talk about double saves. He pulled off a triple save to stop them pulling a goal back. But that apart, first half, absolutely outstanding.
There's one man who didn't score last night, Tuesday night, but I think he's got a lot of Exeter City fans quite worried. I'm of course talking about Devon Cole. He's had the perfect start to the season, 9 goals in 11 games. It's pretty frightening, if I'm totally honest. Do you think he's the man who's going to cause the most problems for City on Saturday?
Well, I would be worried if I were you. Yeah, be very, very worried about him. He's like lightning. When he gets the ball, he'll set off, and he's got one thought in mind, and that's to try and get a shot off, try and get it on goal. And if he can't, if it's not, then he'll look for somebody to put in. But he's very, very quick. And a few clubs have been, keeping, watching when they play against him, but it allows other people to come in. People are so worried about Devante that the other's a bit of a freer ride, if you like, and that in itself is quite dangerous for the opposition. But it's certainly one to watch. So yeah, be very mindful of him.
Yeah, no. Well,
put all your defenders on him. Put all your defenders on him.
Well, we'll certainly be mindful. As I said, some Grecians might be a little bit worried about Devante Cole, but I'm going to ask you if you're worried that history might repeat itself, because last season, Exeter City were a bit of a bogey team for Barnsley. We only got 6 points from 2 teams last year. MK Dons were one of them. Barnsley were the other. Now, I ask that question again. Are you worried that history might just repeat itself on Saturday?
We've just done our Red All Over show, and yes, some of us are, some less so. Some of us are worried. I'm not as worried as I was last season because you haven't got Jay Stansfield, and that makes a big difference because he absolutely took us apart last season in both games. He's only one player, I know. I do think that last season you took us apart both at Oakwell and at your own ground. St James's absolutely took us apart, and well deserved to get the 6 points from the game. But you see, I remember it's not just last season for me. I am so old, Tom. I remember 1973 when you beat us 6-0 at your ground. 6-1, sorry, 6-1. And that were a low point, but not quite as bad as 77. I think something like May 77 towards the end of the season. We were winning 3-0 at Oakwell and cruising, as you do at 3-0. You've won it. And in the not many minutes, not that long to go, you scored 4 goals to beat us 4-3. So that has had that one game had a profound effect on me and one of my colleagues on Red All Over, Alan Smith, who was about 6 months older than me. And it shows, truthfully, it shows. Because from that, even if Barnsley's 3 up, like last night, we're 4 up with 5 minutes to go, we still think we can lose 5-4. That's the effect that Exeter has had on us. So, hopefully we'll get rid of your bogey team tag.
Well, we're definitely preparing for a big clash, and I'm sure that it will be an exciting one. But before you leave, I've got to ask for a score prediction. So what are you going to go for? You sound quite optimistic.
It's called blind madness. Blind bias, that's all it is. It's not about optimism, it's just blindness. 2-0 to Barnsley.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But you sound confident.
I won't go that far.
I'm sure that our boys will be looking to bounce back after a couple of tough results. But I'm sure it'll be a great game on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me, Andy.
Look after Jack Aitchison. We thought the world of Jack Aitchison at Oakwell.
He's brilliant, I've got to say. Thank you so much.
Loved him to bits.
Finally, I'm joined by City women's striker Connie Pengelly, who rejoined the club from Torquay this summer. Connie, welcome to Park Life. Thanks ever so much for joining us. You're back for your second spell at Exeter City after a really successful first spell. During your time with us, you scored an unbelievable 39 goals in 45 appearances. Unbelievable, after moving on from the Girls Development Centre. How pleased are you to be back at the club?
So pleased. The club's always had a special place in my heart. Always since I was little, I've watched from the stands, probably since 8. And I was in the Girls Development Centre probably when I was around 10 years old until it fell through, and then came back as soon as I could.
Amazing. It's a great story in many ways, and your return to the club, I think, sits really nicely with a lot of supporters. I suppose, you're back now, at the moment playing within the reserves, but I can only assume that your goal is to return to the first team and score goals like you did in your first spell.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully the return soon. Obviously, that's my goal. I've obviously got to push towards that now. It's a journey that it's been exciting. Obviously, still in training with the first team, which is really good. And being back with some of my best mates, I'd say, it's really good.
I was going to say, the girls must have been really welcoming to you when you returned to the club and really embraced your return to the team.
Yeah, they did. They were brilliant. When I came in, when the new players signed, like Tash, Amber, people like that, they were also brilliant. They're such a good group to be around. So yeah, they were all welcoming. There wasn't one that wasn't.
Amazing. And I've spoken to both Zoe Watkins and Tash Natman in previous episodes about the progress Exeter City women are making with regard to performances on the pitch, but also everything else that is happening off of it. You kind of mentioned it there, but is that something that you feel really strongly?
Yeah, they are a brilliant bunch. Like, we're all driving for the same goals. Yeah, there's challenges for all of us. It's competitive now, very competitive. Obviously, the squad's massive. I don't know how many players are in it now, probably like 20, 21. So we're always all fighting for a shirt. But it's like healthy competition. It's really good.
I was going to say, I suppose that's testament to the competition, the quality within the squad. Obviously, you're hoping for promotion come the end of the season. That probably is the goal. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I suppose that just shows the level of competitiveness within the squad. Yeah,
definitely. And like, when we played at St James's Park the other day, there was obviously a few of us that missed out, but being involved in the day, still being really involved with it, shows that even if you're not making the final squad, you're still really part of that goal to get promotion. So everyone's included, even if you aren't in the final match day squad, which is really good.
Absolutely. And I was going to mention that game against Moneyfields right now, really. A brilliant crowd, a great vibe around the park. Those days must feel amazing for you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I've played in it twice before I moved away, and sitting in the crowd was a bit like, it's different, very different from being on the pitch. I can say that. But playing in that atmosphere is brilliant. Like, it shows how far the game has come, and like watching them play against Moneyfields and everyone cheering, it's like surreal at times. And then the signatures and stuff at the end makes you like think sometimes, like, wow.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think, there were so many young girls at that game against Moneyfields. Does it feel like sometimes you're inspiring a new generation of young girls?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it does feel like that. Like, when you're going around and they're saying your name and you're like, we are just like normal people as well as like playing for Exeter. Like, I had it one time when I was at work and someone come up to me and was like, "Oh, do you play for Exeter?" And I was like, yeah. And it was like, that was more surreal than actually being in and around the football. Like, people recognising you outside of the football and outside your kit, which was a bit like, well, surreal.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. All right, we've spoken about your role within the team, but you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I've been told, on good authority, that you're a long-term supporter of the club. You said your first game was when you were 8 years old.
I don't know if it would have been 8. It might have been like around 10. I was definitely in primary school.
Yeah.
I used to train up at the uni with Kevin Hack and Jack Gill, who teaches me now, funnily enough. Yeah, that was... I must have been around 10 years old. Yeah, and then that fell through. I can't really remember why. And then I joined back as soon as I knew the GDC had started up again, which was like 12, 13. But like, I've always been in the crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must have been coming to games at St James Park for ages. You've experienced all the ups and downs. Talk to me a little bit about what it's been like to be a supporter, because I mean, we've got loads of supporters listening to the podcast, but obviously you've got a different role in many ways, playing for the women's team as well.
It's a very good club to support because it's obviously very obviously fan based, very family based as well. I remember like the Ollie Watkins goal against Plymouth, and I was sat right where he did that knee slide. I think I was there when Jack Stacey scored that goal as well.
So was I.
Yeah. I think being a supporter and then being able to play for them, obviously supporting them so long, is probably one of the best things I've ever had. I like playing for the club I've grew up watching and always supported is like a dream come true in a way. But yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a brilliant story, it's got to be said. And, well, I think you were spotted the other day, weren't you, on the Big Bank when City played Luton. I believe, what did you do? You fell down halfway down the bank? That's what I've been told. There was a little photo of you going around.
Yeah, Abby Bond got that. Abby Bond got that picture, I think.
What was happening?
Well, I was like at the top in the middle of the bank. To be fair, everyone was with me, like Sarah, Stacey, Abby, Bond, Amber, like loads of us. We all stood at the top of the bank, and we managed to squeeze in the bank next to some of my mates from Tiverton, and we scored. And I went flying down like so many stairs, rolled my ankle. It was carnage, but it was like the best thing. Amazing. Like everyone hugging each other, going mental. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, what a brilliant story to end on. Connie, thank you so much for joining me. Been great to hear all of your insight on both the women's team and also your life as a fan as well. I think that's something that's really special.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
That's all for this episode of Park Life, the official Exeter City podcast. Let us know what you want to hear more of via our social media channels, and don't forget to hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening. Up the City.
He's been picked out. Socks down to his ankle. Picks out Stansfield.